Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. My name is Becca and today I am doing a book tag, a reading tag. And this tag was created by my friend Jessica over on her channel Lady Lovestead Reads, and I will have all of her information in the description box along with the link to her original video and also the questions and whatnot. Hey everyone, Editing Becca here. I just wanted to pop in and chat about a topic that Jessica has brought to my awareness, and that is Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. It is currently EDS Awareness Month, and Jessica has created such a fantastic video talking about what it's like to have the disease and more information about it, and also some great book recommendations if you want to learn more about it as well. So please go watch it and help spread awareness so that we can all do our part in fighting this disease alongside her. Alright, back to the video. Now let's get into the tag video. So the tag that Jessica created is called the Pain Over Joy Reading Tag, but because I'm responding, I am going to flip the title and call it the Joy Over Pain Reading Tag. All in good fun. I'm definitely so thankful for Jessica coming up with such a very thought-provoking tag that we can all respond to in relation to reading, and I'm really excited to get talking about it. Jessica created this tag as a result from Christina Lauren. They are a duo romance author team and they have written tons of novels. I've read all of them. I follow them on Instagram, and Jessica made this reading tag in response to their story about a fan or maybe somebody responding to their book saying that they're guilty pleasures. And that also, the whole quote from the story is going to be in the description box because Jessica was a champ and got that for us, so definitely give that a read. I also responded to it in my Instagram stories because I wholeheartedly agree and I loved it so much. I do want to disclaim here that this is all my opinion. I don't mean to offend anyone, and I think we should just be nice. Let's not be the rude part of the internet, okay? I'm glad we agree. Okay, let's go ahead and get started with the questions. And now, I do want to say also that I might be paraphrasing a tiny bit because I wrote them down, but like I said, all of the word-for-word questions are in the description box. The first question is, do you mostly read books illustrating pain or books that illustrate joy? And I want to think of this in the standpoint that I think all books have both. Well, not all books. All books have some combination of emotions and feelings. I don't think that there are many books that just are about pain. Now, I know there are a few ones that I have heard a lot lately. I'm thinking of A Little Life by Hanya Yanagihara. Now, I've not read that book, but from what I can tell from the reading vlogs that I've watched, that book might just be about pain. And I think that's kind of an outlier. I think for the majority of books, they're going to have, if they have pain, they're going to also have another emotion. So in that way, no, I don't read one over the other. But in the way that Jessica is proposing the question, I do prefer books that illustrate joy. However, I'm not thinking to myself, I want to read a book that's only about joy. I'm going to choose this book. That's not how my brain works when it comes to reading. I might think to myself oh, I want to read a book that's a bit lighter. That doesn't mean that it's only about joy, you know? So I don't think it's a conscious decision on my part to do that, though maybe my reading life reflects that, though I don't think it does, just because I believe that a good reading life for myself is a well-varied reading life, and that means I read across genres. I try my hardest to read across diverse authors and topics, and also across different feelings and emotions. So while I don't like to read sad books all the time, I do read them. But I do want to say here that I think that it's become an issue specifically within the Black Lives Matter movement. Not an issue with the Black Lives Matter movement, but an issue in the way that white people have been responding to the Black Lives Matter movement. In the case where the majority of us, when we are going to find books to read in support of the Black Lives Matter movement, we're looking for books that are about pain, that are about racism and defeating racism, which is not about pain, which is like, yay, we're defeating racism, but a lot of Black creators and artists have come forth saying Black life is not just about pain. Please read more books about Black joy. And so I think that this can be kind of an issue with reading, and I think that this kind of just illustrates that it's not okay to only be reading books that are just about pain. And now on to the second question. Do you see books about pain as more intellectually valuable? And no way, no. I think that, and Jessica says this in her own video, and I think it's such a good point, that we're kind of raised, we're kind of socialized, especially in America, to believe that books about pain to be more intellectually valuable, just because of the way that the school system works and like required reading. Jessica says how she comes from the background of being a college professor, and that her colleagues kind of look down on books that are like light and fluffy because they're not as intellectually valuable, and I think that is crap. I think that's terrible. I think it's such exclusive and such privileged way of thinking, and the reason why I believe that is because intellect to me is not only about fact. It's not just fact-based. Intelligence to me also includes emotional intelligence, empathy. And to have a well-balanced empathy and emotional intelligence, you can't just read about one type of emotion. You cannot only read a book about pain. You need to also read a book about joy and other emotions. So in that way, I say no way. If, to me, a well-balanced individual is somebody who, intellectually a well-balanced individual, is somebody who's not smarter than everyone else and thinks they're better because of that. It's also somebody who has the emotional intellect to realize that, yeah, you might be smarter than some people, but that doesn't make you better than them. You know? I think that also the type of people that I've seen in my own experience here on YouTube and in my personal life, a lot of the people who believe this tend to be old white people, dare I say it. So, I mean, if they want to believe that books about pain are more intellectually valuable, they can go right ahead. I don't want to be like those people, so I don't care. The next question, why do you think major book prizes like the Booker and Pulitzer mainly award books about pain? And my first question in response to this question is, do they? Like, really, like, do they? Because I don't really pay attention to a lot of book awards, so I couldn't tell you, like, are they only awarding books that are about pain? I have no idea. And before I really answer this question, I do want to talk about a video that I just watched. I'll also put that in the description box. It's from Lena Norms. She's a fellow booktuber, and she did a reading vlog where she reads all of the long list books for the Women's Fiction Award. And I think it's so interesting because she did a phenomenal job on this video. Like, it was entertaining, and also, like, I learned so much from it, and I just, hats off to her. What a fantastic video. But she talks about the Women's Fiction Award in comparison to other awards and kind of the reason why it had to be created. And I think that kind of also ties into this very well, and I highly, highly recommend it. Even if you only watch the beginning part where she talks about the award, like, if you only watch that part and then don't watch the rest of it about the books, like, I think it's very, like, it's highly important and such an interesting discussion. So yeah, do they only award books about pain? To me, they can't, because like I was saying earlier, I don't believe there are many books that are only about pain. So I'm also kind of considering, like, she also kind of talks about this in her video, Lena Norms does, and she talks about who is creating these awards, who are the people who are selecting them. I mean, now they've come a long way from where they were when they started, but who created the award? Who were the people who set up the selection process and the qualifications for it? Was it also old white men? This is an interesting question, and I think there's so much discussion on it, and if I were more knowledgeable about the awards, I probably would have more to say, but all I have to say is that I don't care about them. The next question is, do you agree with the term guilty pleasure? And do you use it as well? And I jokingly use it. The most recent time that I used it, I was talking to my sister. I've been watching or I actually finished it at this point, the Netflix adaptation of Dare Me, which is a book about, kind of about cheerleading, but it's a mystery thriller. I'm watching the Netflix adaptation, and I told her it was a guilty pleasure because like teen dramas are kind of a guilty pleasure to me, but like I don't mean it in a way that I feel guilty about watching it, because I don't. I use it, but not in the way that the actual words mean. Do I agree with it? No. If somebody were to say to me as I'm reading a romance novel, they're like, oh, that must be your guilty pleasure, and I'm like, no, go die in a hole. Or like if someone were to say something about like, oh, this is my guilty pleasure, or something like that, I was like, well, you shouldn't feel guilty about reading something that you enjoy. Because you shouldn't. Life's too short. Overall, I mean, like, do I use it? Yes. I don't use it as the, like, literal definition. And I also would hate it if somebody applied it to my own reading. And also, if you use it, I will defend you. But also just, I mean, I can't really control how other people feel about their own reading, but that's how I feel. And then the follow-up question for that, do you think books about joy are guilty pleasures? And no. Definitely not. Going back to how, like, being an emotionally intelligent person and how I believe that is a key factor in intelligence, if I don't like the use of the word guilty pleasure, then I won't think that a type of book is a guilty pleasure. I don't understand why people judge other people for what they're reading, because it's just like, just because that person's reading it doesn't mean you have to. Like, how is that affecting you? If I want to read a romance novel and you hate romance, how does that affect you? Let's just do away with that term. It's unnecessary. I feel like we only use it as a way to, like, defend ourselves from people judging us. Like, if you're having a conversation with somebody and they're like, oh, what kind of books do you like to read? And I'm like, oh, I like to read romance. And they're like, oh, do you? And then you're like, oh, well, it's a guilty pleasure. You know, you're saying it as a defense for somebody being an asshole to you, so... But also, like, I don't like to waste time on people who don't bring value to my life, and I don't mean value in, like, that they give something to me. It can be bring value in the fact that, like, they're kind. So, if I don't like to spend time on those people, I'm not going to let them dictate what's a guilty pleasure for me. That was a long-winded answer to that question. I'm sorry. And then the big whopper of a question. Do you read in secret? Are there books you read but never talk about because of embarrassment, shame, or guilt about liking them? And this is going to reflect on my personal life and how my reading has kind of resulted from things that have happened in my past and my past experiences. And I will say that throughout middle school all the way through college, I did not tell a single person that I read romance novels besides, like, my family. No, none of my friends knew. None of, like, the people that I were super close with who, like, stayed at my house. None of them knew that I read romance. And it's because I was heavily involved in church towards the end of middle school and through high school. I was going to church from 2 to 3 times a week. And I was very heavily involved, and I don't want to say this is the experience for everyone, because I know there are plenty of churches who don't do this, but as a woman, as a girl, I was taught to be ashamed of myself in any way. To be ashamed of my mind, to be ashamed of my body, and that definitely, you know, affected me. I was told to be ashamed of reading romance, that reading those things were bad, and that I was bad for reading them. I remember there was a time when I was in the group van with everyone. I think we were like on the way home from an event or something, and this was my sister's friend who knew that me and my sister were romance readers, because my sister didn't care. like my sister's friend was jokingly like, ah, haha, they read, and I don't remember the term that she used. She could have said like, they like to read smut or porn, or she could have well have just said a romance novel. And jokingly I was like, ah, haha, no, I don't read those parts. I skip over them. No. I was reading them for those parts, obviously. So it's just one example of how I felt shame for reading those. And then I remember in college, I went to a Christian university, and I had my Nook sitting on my desk, and one of my friends, my very good friends, was sitting in my room with me, and she like goes to pick up my Nook to look at it and whatever, and I was just like, no! Ah! Because it was on a romance novel, and I was told to be ashamed of it, so I didn't want her to know that I was reading a romance novel. So, do you read in secret? Not so much anymore. I will say that there are some books that I do not put on Goodreads that I don't talk about here. And that's kind of like a combination of like, they're super smutty and do I want to count them as books? And also like they're super short, like they're 70-ish pages. They're novellas. I would say even shorter than novellas. So I don't feel comfortable counting them, which is kind of dumb because I'll count a picture book. So where's the logic in that? So maybe I should just count them. I grew up feeling shame and guilt and embarrassment for reading those books, and I think a little of that still is like within me, that I feel shame for reading pure smut. Even though I still talk about books like A Court of Silver Flames. Like, I talked about that book. That book is everywhere on the internet, and that one, I'm not gonna say it's pure smut because it actually has a storyline, but like, if you know, you know. So overall, it's kind of been a journey of not being like embarrassed about reading romance. I certainly was like, not even like 2 years ago, I wasn't the same way that I am now about being so open about reading romance. Like, my family knew and my friends, sure, but maybe not to the extent that that I do. So it is something that I am definitely getting past, and being a part of the book community has actually been super helpful, and seeing so many other people who just read like those books. And you know, Christina Lauren, where this whole tag originated from, with their stories on Instagram, following them on Instagram, reading their books, has just like been so helpful for me to be more open, and I'm so grateful and thankful for that. And so that's another thing about this tag, about the pain over joy reading tag. Do you think reading books about pain makes you more intellectual, or books about pain being more intellectual? And I'm just like, I don't care. Reading romance, reading books about joy, and following those people on the internet has just brought so much joy to my life and helped me be more open, that is what's important to me. So I don't care about any of that stuff. I don't care about people who judge me, because honestly, I'm the one who's reading it, not them. Like, if I were gonna read what they were gonna read, I'd be super like depressed and just not as happy as I am. So thank you, Jessica, for creating this book tag for me to just share about my love for romance, and why I read romance, and why I think that maybe you shouldn't read romance if that's not what you're into, but maybe you should read more books about joy because they're worth it. The last is, who do you tag? And I don't like tagging people because I don't like people feeling guilty about not following through, or feel like, oh, now I have to do that. So if you're watching this and you want to do this tag, please do it. Please, 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 because it's such a fun topic to talk about, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. Don't forget to give Jessica all of the credit, and make sure that you tag her, that you share her original video. So that'll be it for the pain over joy reading tag, or the joy over pain reading tag. I really had fun talking about it twice now because I had to refilm this video, so that was an adventure. Now, Jessica did ask in her video if I could give any advice for overcoming shame or embarrassment for reading guilty pleasures, and I don't really feel like I have advice per se, but to me it's about thinking or having a different thought process. Are you ashamed of reading these books, or are you responding to the shame that people are putting on you? If it's not your shame, then just read them. You know, it's never easy to stop caring about what people think of you. I mean, obviously we all still do, no matter what we say. Like, I'll always care what people think, or, well, maybe not what they think because I don't know what they think, but if people were like verbally judging me, yeah, that would hurt. But I'm not gonna let it stop me from reading what I love, because that would be super heartbreaking, and life's too short to read books you don't want to read, or to not read books that you do want to read. So that probably doesn't help because you already knew that. So that'll be it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I would super appreciate your support. I hope you had a fantastic day, and I'll see you in a new video soon. Bye!